Good evening, everyone. How are you tonight? It's good to see you all. Hey, Annie. So happy you're here. And thank you. Hey, Nolan. Hi, John. Amy. Meow Zedong. Northern Light. It's good to have you guys here. I wasn't sure how many viewers we'll have tonight because sadly there's not a huge interest, it seems, in Flora. But I really hope we get some people in because this case really needs to be talked about and talked about more. Hey, God's Country, so good to see you. Thanks for joining. Hey, Miranda, so nice to see you. We'll wait for some more people to come in before I get started. What I'm going to do tonight basically is go over the Flora case. For those of you that are not familiar, the Flora Fire happened in November of 2016, and the same players that were in the powers to be, so to speak, were the same at the time of the Delphi murders. So there is some overlap there because obviously it's the same county. Yes, Anthony Greeno did a really good coverage of it. So did Incognito Society. She did a really good coverage of it as well. And sadly, I believe that there is a lot going on behind the scenes in this case. And the stuff that's happening needs to be talked about. Hey, RJ. Thank you for joining. So good to see you. Hey, Teresita Hillis. How are things down there in Tennessee? Did you guys get a lot of rain? We've been having rain up here in Illinois. But yeah, that's what we're going to do tonight. We are going to talk about Flora. For those of you that aren't aware, I do have a Reddit sub called Delphi's Daughters, and one of my friends from that sub, from my sub, he started a sub Reddit for Flora back last fall, and he was really upset, as I was too, that there wasn't a lot of people talking about Flora and the 4 little girls that lost their lives in that fire. So there is a subreddit. Obviously, it is not huge. There's 158 members. And that was 7 months ago that the Flora Fire Reddit was started. So that tells you something about this case. To me, it tells you a lot about this case and how sad it truly is. You know, I laugh about that Northern Light because I don't hear myself with an accent and I laugh about it. But when I went to visit a friend in Canada, we were sitting in a restaurant and the waiter came over and was taking our order. And when I ordered, he stopped and he made this huge big deal. He asked me where I was from. He said that my accent was amazing. And I was just laughing because I don't hear it. So I suppose I have one, but yeah, I'm not sure what that sounds a lot like, but yeah. Hey AJ, so good to see you. You're right, Annie. It is such a sad story. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because I don't want to run over into um, Graz's live stream later, and I know he's going on. So I'm not that I'm going to hurry, but I just don't want to do that. So, oh, cool, Northern Light. That's awesome. That's not too far from me. I'm in the middle of the state, so that's not too far. Yeah, Miranda, I agree with you. There's not a whole lot out there, people doing things on Lyric and Elizabeth either. I don't know if it's because of how much time has passed, but I think that that's sad as well. And I just want to see these cases that are regionally around me. I want to see more people focusing on them, so that hopefully we can get them solved, and keeping them out there and keeping the stories alive so people don't forget that somebody hasn't been caught, because a lot of times that's what's going on. People assume, since they haven't heard about a case, that it's been solved and that somebody has been arrested for it. And that's the sad thing, I think, that happens a lot of times. So But so let's just kind of get into it. I'm going to do a brief timeline first about the case and what happened for those who are not familiar. So, on November 21st of 2016, in the early morning hours, Galen Rose, who was a single mom of 4 girls, awoke to the smell of smoke in her converted duplex apartment. Her apartment was in an old house, but there were only two. It had been converted into apartments, and there were 2, one downstairs, one upstairs. Her 4 daughters were trapped upstairs. After attempting to rescue them, Galen exited the apartment, and calls were placed to 911 by neighbors and bystanders. The first to respond was a Flora police officer and a Carroll County sheriff's deputy. Both officers attempted to rescue Keyana, Keyara, Kerriele, and Kionnie, but they were unsuccessful. All 4 little girls perished in that fire, and Galen, along with the 2 officers, had to be hospitalized for serious injuries sustained during their rescue attempts. All 3 of them recovered. Fire crews from Flora and the surrounding area, including Delphi, were able to extinguish the fire. The apartment was owned by 2 local businessmen, one of whom was the sitting president of the Flora Town Council at the time of the fire. On November 22nd, the day after the fire in 2016, the Indiana Department of Homeland Security released a statement that the cause of the fire was still under investigation, but that it may have started in the kitchen and possibly behind the refrigerator. On November 22nd, 2016, news outlets quote an unnamed source who says that investigators are focusing on the home's electrical system. January 28th of 2017, the Red Cross, in cooperation with the local fire department, conducts a door-to-door smoke detector campaign to inspect existing smoke detectors and install new ones. Indiana Packers donated 500 smoke detectors to the drive. First Alert donated 100 smoke detectors, and the Red Cross donated an undisclosed number of smoke detectors. Ironically, businesses, contractors, and rentals were not eligible for the replacement smoke detectors. So Galen Rose's apartment would not have been eligible for new smoke detectors. On January 28, 2017, the fire investigator with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security announces that the cause of the fire was arson, with multiple accelerant sites throughout the home. 2.5 weeks later, on February 13th, 2017, Abby and Libby were murdered in nearby Delphi. February 8th through the 15th of 2017, an independent fire investigator sends numerous emails and voicemail messages to the pertinent investigative personnel to strongly refute the findings of the initial fire investigator, stating that the findings were completely based on speculation and not evidence. On May 25th, 2017, the ISP detective originally assigned to the case accepts another position at Indiana State Police, and a new detective is assigned after conflict of interest questions arise. The original detective had previously investigated the wife of the Indiana Department of Homeland Security fire investigator who originally investigated the fire. She is also the mother of the Flora Fire Department chief who responded to the fire on charges of embezzlement for which she was convicted. June 2017, a local investigative journalist meets with the superintendent of the Indiana State Police and the Carroll County prosecutor after receiving leaked copies of the emails sent by the independent fire investigator, as well as additional in-house emails between investigative personnel. The superintendent and the prosecutor deny knowledge of the emails and agree to get to the bottom of it. 1 week later, the initial fire investigator from Indiana's Homeland Security resigned, citing personal reasons, and that I don't really want to talk about it. Fox 59 files a request under the APRA for the release of the 9/11 call recordings. In October of 2017, the Indiana NAACP holds a press conference regarding the case. The spokeswoman says that the family is not getting any communication from investigators and that the case smells of a cover-up. In November of 2017, 1 year after the fire inspector's son, who was the Flora Fire Department chief at the time of the fire, resigns. The Carroll County prosecutor, who was knowledgeable about the investigations into both the Flora Fire and the Delphi Murders, also resigns. In December 2017, Indiana State Police asked the Indianapolis Fire Department to conduct a peer review of this fire. In January of 2018, the Indianapolis Fire Department, after conducting interviews with witnesses, firefighters, and police as well as a site inspection of the house, confirmed the fire to be deliberately set with accelerant found in one room of the home. In April of 2019, a Marion County judge enters a summary judgment in favor of Fox 59's request for the release of the 911 recordings. The Carroll County commissioners appeal this decision. On April 29, 2020, A year later, the Indiana Court of Appeals ruled against Fox 59's request for the release of the 911 recordings. So, that's a lot. And I consider the girls the forgotten four. And we're going to say their names. Keyana, age 11. Keyara, age 9. Kerriele, age 7. Kionnie, age 5. I do not have an understanding of why a prosecutor in this case would spend so much money of the county's money to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court to stop the release of 911 tapes. What possibly could be on those tapes that make you not want to release them? 911 tapes are public documents. They are not evidence normally. I mean, obviously they're evidence because they're the start of the crime or the start of what's happening is based on who's calling, why, how did it happen, how did it transpire. But 911 calls are always notoriously released. I mean, it's just crazy why for this particular case they would fight so hard to keep them from being released. Now remember, the Flora Fire Department is 500 feet away from this home. 500 feet. It's just crazy that the first responders to this call was a police officer and a county sheriff. Where the heck was the fire department? Per the comment in the per the comment, the newspaper, Carroll County Commissioners Bill Brown, Lauren Hylton, and Steve Pearson held 2 meetings behind closed doors to discuss how to handle the judgment against the county from the lawsuit that was filed by Fox 59. And representation by the county would also have to reimburse Fox 59 for their legal costs. The county auditor, Beth Myers, advised that the county has paid private representation roughly $30,000 thus far and will still owe the law firm for legal work, which has been provided. The commissioners decided to decline Fox's offer and pursue an appeal in the Indiana State Supreme Court after conversations with several community members, including prosecutor Nick McLeland. Nick McLeland is the prosecutor who took over after Robert Ives resigned in November of 2017. You have to remember that Nick McLeland was a public defender and was put into this position of prosecutor after Ives resigned. Why on earth would a county, now these are questions that I have. Why on earth would a county instill a prosecutor that used to be a defense attorney for the county and heard all of these criminal cases of criminals all throughout the county, knowing that when other cases came about, he would not be able to prosecute them, and they would have to get a special prosecutor. Why would a county do that? Where do they get all this money? I don't understand. Nobody's asked that question. And in my mind, it's a way for them to keep their guys in power over these cases. This is something that needs to be investigated more, and it's something that needs to be talked about more. McLeland says, or McLeland, pardon me, says he believes that the recordings constitute evidence, and said he believes that the Marion Supreme Court judge who agreed with the Public Access Council that the ruling sets a bad precedent across the state. The Public Access Council is the ones who did not agree with not releasing the 911 tapes. They felt that they should be released. In April of 2020, the Indiana Court of Appeals would side with the county and rule against Fox 59's request for the release of the recordings. Commissioner Brown said everyone was on board with McLeland's opinion. He said he would not want the person or persons who committed this crime not to be found and prosecuted because commissioners allowed the media to have the recordings. Hilton agreed, as did Pearson. Brown, when he was asked by the court, by the comment, the Carroll County comment, said commissioners did not consult Public Access Counselor Luke Britt during their conversations to decide how to proceed. So they didn't consult him at all. The Court of Appeals clearly adopted the opinion that E911 was not a law enforcement agency. PAC Britt stated when contacted about the comments made during the commissioner's meeting, "It is also the first time I've ever heard anyone ever refer to the incident as a murder, as stated by the prosecutor in the comment video of the meeting. When it was on my desk in 2017, a criminal investigation was never even mentioned by the parties." Found that interesting. Moreover, the prosecutor has not stated that the 911 calls were compiled for prosecutorial or investigatory purposes, Bill added. So why would you fight so hard to keep those recordings from being released when they weren't even compiled for prosecutorial or investigatory purposes? Those are questions that need to be answered. Britt also said it is a concern prosecutors may be able to direct non-law enforcement departments as to what public information per statute can or cannot be disclosed. Prosecutor McLeland, maybe you could elaborate a bit more on as to why you fought so hard to suppress this information from the public while using the taxpayers' dollars to do so. I find it quite interesting. What or who is on those 911 recordings? Doug Carter said, "If you're watching, we are coming. This county has suffered enormous loss." He called them the Carroll County Six: Abby and Libby, and the four sisters. Justice is coming, baby girls. Really? Is justice truly coming? We're going on 6 years in November. The case is very rarely ever talked about in the public. And people are up in arms about Delphi. I mean, come on, people. This is really upsetting. Um, I just can't believe it. I'm sitting here, like I said, when you look at Reddit and you know how big Reddit is and how many people are on Reddit alone, and you have a sub that is dedicated to this case, and it's been up and been run for 7 months with all kinds of information, all kinds of things being dropped into it, and it has 158 members. I think it tells you how important solving Flora is to anyone, whether it be the general public or whether it be law enforcement or anyone. It's upsetting. May 18th, 2017, Fox requested the 911 calls from Flora, the fire department. And the local reporter is the one who sent 4 records requests, all pertaining to the 911 recordings from that fatal fire. And they never got them. On June 23rd, 2017, Dennis Randall, the lead arson investigator, would resign after 13 Channel 13 investigates, raises questions over his handling of the Flora Fire. Remember that name, Dennis Randall. A private arson investigator from Michigan would write to IDHS, or the Indiana Department of Homeland Security, and the Indiana Fire Marshal, Jim Greason. He complained that Dennis Randall didn't follow standard investigator protocols when investigating the fire. The investigator asked for Randall to be removed from the Flora Fire case. An email surfaced in June of 2017, but was written on February 8th of 2017 by the private arson investigator regarding the Randall handling of the case. The email is dated 5 days before the Delphi murders. Mr. Director, my name is Redacted, and I am a senior fire investigator with Redacted. Hey, Jennifer, hi to see you. I am compelled to write this email to you because I am the lead fire investigator on the private side for the fatal fire of 4 children that occurred in Flora, Indiana on November 21st, 2016. The reason for this email is because the January 2nd, 2017 press release by the state fire marshal about the conclusions of their investigations are not correct and are completely based on speculation and not evidence. As of this date, my investigation, along with the Flora Fire investigator, Redacted, well as ATF Special Agent Redacted, investigations are still open and ongoing, as our investigation was put on hold until we could gather more input from the ATF with computer fire modeling to help us narrow down a specific room of origin of this fire. Once this has been determined, the electrical components within the room of origin will need to be completely ruled out. A lab exam or our electrical engineers, not just a cursory look at the scene before we can say definitively that the electrical system has been completely ruled out. Also, the press release statement about accelerants being discovered in several locations is absolutely not based on any evidence discovered at the scene during the investigation. And the investigator, Dennis Randall, was not performing a proper origin and cause investigation based on the current procedures of NFPA 921 2016 edition to opine that opinion. Please allow me the opportunity to meet you in person and explain the investigation in detail. This report filed and press release given by Dennis Randall is truly unfortunate and potentially a grave injustice for the 4 little girls who perished in this fire. I have attached a current copy of my CV so that you can get a better idea of my fire investigation background, as well as education, training, and experience. To opine this opinion against Mr. Randall, please contact me at your earliest convenience. Thank you. June 26, 2017, Doug Carter gives his reaction to the press calling the Flora Fire investigation fishy or a cover-up. Carter was stunned when he read the words for himself for the first time. Were you aware that there were questions being raised about Dennis Randall's handling of the evidence and the investigation into the actual cause and origin of this fire? Question 13 investigates. I was not, said Carter, shaking his head. I don't know about this, but I'm going to find out, he told 13 investigates. Carter told 13 investigates that Randall's release of his arson findings were premature. Carter was equally concerned about an internal email from a DHS staff member telling Randall to wait to make that information public. We also learned that Randall put out the release without informing any other investigators on the case. On July 20th, 2017, the Office of the Public Access Counselor gave their opinion. Luke Britt said, the department's response provides that they have advised on numerous occasions that they have no knowledge of details of this case, but the department does not specify or specifically say whether that means the department has directly notified the complainant herself that the department does not have the records responsive to her request. The complainant alleges she never received a response from the department for her May 18th request, which is required under the APRA. And this is the request that the reporter filed to receive the 911 tapes. They cannot release any information because of an ongoing homicide investigation. And this contradicts the department's assertion that they have no knowledge of details of this case. If there is a murder or homicide investigation ongoing, then the department would certainly have knowledge or details about the case. These are mutually exclusive reasons for denying a request and does not provide either the complainant or me with a clear answer for why the department cannot provide records responsible or responsive to the complainant's request. And if the department is withholding records the complainant requested because they are part of an investigation, the department should have provided the complainant with a written denial that states the exemptions for withholding the records. So in conclusion, it is in the opinion of the public access counselor that the Flora Fire Department violated the Access to Public Records Act. So just a few months later, in November of 2017, we would see Adam Randall, the son of Dennis Randall, and the chief of the Flora Fire Department, resign just 5 months after his father, Dennis, resigns. That very same month, Carroll County prosecutor Robert Ives also resigns, citing personal reasons. In February of 2018, Fox 59 decides they are not going to drop this. When Carroll County refuses to release the 911 recordings, they filed a lawsuit in Marion County against the county commissioners. They hired Barnes and Thornburg's law firm to represent the county in this matter. Carroll County commissioners consulted their attorney, Ted Johnson, who recommended that they relinquish the recording under Indiana's Access to Public Records Act. They issued an executive order to 911 Director Cassie Lane to release the recording, but Lane did not. They cannot release any information because of an ongoing homicide investigation. Commissioners said Monday that they were unaware Lane did not follow the executive order, but they now believe it was because she was told by the county prosecutor and the Indiana State Police to withhold the recording, which would have been Robert Ives and ISP Doug Carter. Fox would win the court case against the county. Because they lost the initial suit, Carroll County not only had to pay for their legal representation by Barnes and Thornburg, but the county would also have to reimburse Fox 59 for their legal costs. County Auditor Beth Myers advised that the county had paid Barnes and Thornburg roughly $30,000 thus far and will still owe the law firm for legal work which has been provided. So Fox offered to settle if the county would pay the $30,000 in legal fees and release the 911 recordings. And that's when the commissioners decided not to. And so Brown said he would not want the person or persons who committed the crime not to be found and prosecuted because the commissioners chose to go ahead and let the media have the recordings. In April of 2020, Indiana Court of Appeals sides with the county, and the court rules against Fox 59's request for the release of the 911 recordings. So they are still not ever been turned over as public access documents. Luke Britt's response to the ruling was basically what we have already, what I'd already talked about, but hold on a second, I'm just looking. It said that Fox 59 is probably going to file with the Indiana Supreme Court to overturn the appellate court's decision. Fox 59 is not going to give up. Britt also said it is a concern prosecutors may be able to direct non-law enforcement departments as to what public information per statute can or cannot be released or disclosed. I go back to power and control. And it seems to me that there is a lot of power struggles going on here and control. And there's got to be a reason why. There's just a lot of questions regarding this case. Concentrated political power is the most dangerous thing on earth, and that was said by Rudolph Rummel. So how does everything that's happening in Flora with all the players play into what's going on in Delphi? Well, let's take a look at that. Shane Evans was the mayor of Delphi. In June of 2015, he announced his run for mayor. He also graduated from Delphi High School in 2008, for those who do not know about him. He filed as an independent candidate and he completed his law degree in 2015. He's been elected mayor twice. He said that when he was interviewed, when he was leaving the mayor's office to take the deputy prosecutor's job that he currently holds in Delphi, that he was able to accomplish a lot in 4.5 years, public works projects most of all. I found that interesting because I would have to say maybe he did accomplish that, but what about the Delphi murders? August 16th, 2020, officials he officially steps down to become the Carroll County deputy prosecutor under Nick McLeland. And what is very interesting about this, remember what I was talking about in Flora about how they want their own guys to be in power. He worked with Nick McLeland right out of college and law school. So I think Nick McLeland wanted him there for a reason, wanted him in the deputy position for a reason. Why else would he resign from or step down as being mayor when he said that it was one of the most amazing things that and accomplishments that he'd ever done in his life, and that he was so happy about all the things that he was able to accomplish as mayor in Delphi? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. He said that the opportunity that presented itself was one he could not pass up. It's time that we start seeing the forest for the trees, everybody. Carter said that when we communicate, good things happen. Whether it's a double homicide or an intentionally set fire, good prevails over evil, not the other way around. And we cannot let that happen. Carter has been very outspoken about the negative press around Flora, especially. Carroll County Deputy Drew Yoder risked his life to rescue those 4 sisters. Josh Dysinger was there with him and pulled Drew out of the fire. Josh saw their mom outside the house from during the fire, and he said his heart broke. When Drew was interviewed while still in the hospital, he said he passed this house multiple times a day, and the 4 sisters were always outside playing, dancing. They would dance around the street sign on the corner. They would always wave to him and yell hello, and their smiles were amazing. Without hesitation, both of these men ran into that burning structure 3 different times. He said fear wasn't on his mind The only thing going through it was that there were 4 little girls screaming, and he needed to get inside to help them. He said the last time he went in, things got really bad, and he was injured. He didn't wake up for days. When he did, he was in the burn unit, where he was told that the 4 little girls didn't make it. He said his heart sank to his stomach. He said the only thing that kept him going was the outpouring of love and support from the community. Yoder returned to duty at the end of December, but he says he returned a changed man. He says he thinks about it every single day, and he just has to push through it. The house fire was intentionally set. Accelerants were found in multiple spots in the home. There have been allegations of a cover-up and botched police work. The ISP denies this, however, and stands resolved to see justice in this case. The president of the NAACP was adamant that something smells a cover-up here. And the family has basically been shut out of the investigation. No one has been brought to justice as of this date. I hope that one day I can look into the eyes of the person who killed these 4 little girls, Doug Carter said. I would give my life to find out who did this. I would love to tell you what we know, and one day I hope to. Boy, that sounds familiar. He says that in Delphi as well. And he says, but ladies and gentlemen, that won't be today. For a number of reasons, and you all know why. I didn't create the sticky note today to include Abby and Libby, but he carries a sticky note with him and has one on his desk at all times, and he set it home by his bedside. It has Kionnie's name, age 5, Kerriele's name, age 7, Keyara's name, age 9, and Keyana's name, age 11. Carroll County has endured so much. This is so very complicated, and the inference that this is about race is just wrong, Doug Carter says. Police are still hoping for a break in this case. The aunt of the 4 sisters, Jackie Partlow, still lives in Flora. We're not going to give up. We're not going to let this case go cold. The only thing sorry, I turned the wrong page. She said, I won't sit back and allow those girls' deaths to be in vain. Police say there are no new developments in the case. Doug Carter says it is not a cold case, however. Once tips stop coming in, we start all over and start building again. The girls' mothers' memories of their creativity, their resilience, their love, she said, would have served them well during this pandemic. 4 sisters denied a future that needs someone, anyone, to step up and speak out. And anytime we talk about this case is a good day. Someone out there knows. Someone out there knows what happened. This is not the only case that is open, according to Nick McLeland. When he talks about Delphi, he also mentions the Flora Fire. And the 4 little girls are being worked diligently to solve this crime. And he believes they will come to a resolution in the case. I can't imagine the pain that Galen Rose must feel this day. As a mother who has lost and buried a child, I can't imagine losing all 4 at once. I can't imagine having that happen and the pain that that mother must feel every single day. And Miss Rose, if you happen to be watching this tonight, I don't and can't know your pain. But I definitely hear your cries for justice, and I'm inspired by your strength. I'm so sorry that it's taken so long to hear your voice and listen to your story. I apologize. I'm going to champion for justice for your precious little girls, and that the person or persons pay for these crimes. Please say their names, you guys. Learn their names. Keyana, Keyara, Kerriele, and Kionnie. Say their names. Put them to memory. To make up for the last 5 years that we've not said anything. The Carroll County 6. So I talked about public figures tonight, and I just want to say that it's my right as an American citizen to comment and speculate on their actions and their comments. There is a phone call that was made by Open Secrets YouTuber to try to get some information out of the mayor's office and to get some public records or some comments on the record regarding Delphi. She reached out to Shane Evans' office, who refused to comment on the record. About a week later, she contacted the city clerk's office and was transferred to the mayor, looking for meeting minutes for the city in February of 2017. Those are the only missing minutes on file for that city of Delphi, is the February 2017 minutes. And she's like, "Hi, Shane, can you find the city council meeting minutes from February of 2017 for me? I can't get them anywhere. I've been looking for them on your website and I've asked for them, but no one seems to have them." "Oh, I can get them scanned and sent over to you." "Are there also any videos of the meetings?" "I'm not sure. If there is, it would be on the City Delphi YouTube channel. It is possible that I was too busy that month and the next to upload the video to YouTube." So, Mr. Evans, I ask you, where are the missing minutes from February 13th of 2017? Doug Carter tells us law enforcement should never talk about what they think, only about what they know. But we can. We can talk about what we think. Something is out of balance. Something is not right. Doug Carter says he's so tired of the vitriol around law enforcement about everything they say or do. I don't think there would be that if things were more transparent. These two cases represent evil in America, Doug Carter said. In 1992, Indiana adopted the Code on Building Regulations, electrical, mechanical, and plumbing codes. The building inspector is responsible for enforcing these codes. For the past 2 decades, it has rarely ever been enforced. And Mayor Shane Evans says he wants to change this. It's all about public safety. It's to make sure the investment you make is in your property is a good investment. Some people want to see the code repealed, however. Some people say the code is too expensive and makes homeowners who rent properties have to do upgrades they can't afford. And Shane Evans said if the original ordinance is repealed, he would veto it. Dale Seward, the city council person from Delphi, said more government regulations doesn't stand for prosperity for any town. We're talking about the safety of people. How could you not want to have property codes that people have to follow for public safety? On November 21st, 2016, was the devastating house fire in Flora that killed 4 little girls. And the very next day, on November 22nd, Delphi Board of Works public safety member and former mayor Sam DeWert, who also owns an insurance business in Delphi, sent the following message to his fellow council members in response to the fire. Hold on a second. Oops. I would suppose by now each of you have learned of the tragic fire that occurred in Flora early today. I am certain that each of you are touched by the tragedy with the deaths of 4 children. Interesting, interesting thing to say. Touched by the tragedy? I don't know. Gentrification in rural communities is happening. And how proactive community planning and a progressive property valuation system can stem the tide. But it causes long-term residents to be priced out of their homes by economic and cultural change within the communities that they live. We see a lot of gentrification in large cities, but we're starting to see it in rural communities as well. The tax burden for these homeowners is rapidly increasing, and with a loss of cultural identity. Wealthy, middle, and upper class people are buying up property in poor neighborhoods. And they inject them with enough capital to effectively push the lower class out. In 2012, Delphi got a $23 million multi-state agency program where they were said to be a stellar community. And this program would provide them technical support and funding to complete public projects. The goal was to implement a comprehensive revitalization plan in 3 to 4 years. And they were going to have partnerships with NDOT, IHCDA, and OCRA. The projects that were decided upon was the Opera House, facades, apartments, parking, owner-occupied repair, streetscape, gateway trail, and water improvements. How did Delphi accomplish their strategic plan investments? Or did they? Investing in downtown buildings, they redid 35 facades. They also redid the Opera House. They also did 2 downtown apartment buildings. They had new businesses opening, and they created a really nice pedestrian-friendly streetscape. Where they didn't create one, the streetscape was upgraded. They made a huge investment into historic neighborhoods. They had 10 houses that were improved. They did 1 block completely restored with 26 apartments. They did the trail through the neighborhoods. They also enabled the downtown housing with 16 new units downtown. And they had private investment in downtown housing. In October of 2017, a city council member said, "Many people are returning who were born here. People who see it for the first time want to live here and raise their families, and just some want to come for the weekend and experience the canal center or all the immensely amenities that we have to offer." The project wraps up just 8 months after the murder of Abby and Libby in February of 2017. There was a heavy push during that time for investing into the community and attracting weekend visitors. Money funneled into the city as well as visitors coming to visit. Both of those things have happened as a result of the murders. Sadly to say, but it has. The whole picture must be looked at in connection to rural gentrification and what we've been talking about. The community wants the trail system finished, Dan McCain said, which ends at the Monon High Bridge. And the bridge has such historic memories for this community. They are asking for the city's help in restoring it. In December of 2015, the community came together to get a grant from DNR to allow for the decking and railing of the bridge for pedestrian use. $135,000 for improvements was granted, and $37,000 was given from the township. As we all know, nothing happened on that trail until last summer. And there still has been no decking and no railings installed on that bridge. So my question to the McCains is, where's the money? And where is the improvements? They also have to repair one of the trestles, and that is supposed to cost an additional $100,000 because the bridge could fail or collapse, and they want to fix it. So basically, all of these things are going on between Flora and Delphi, and there's just a lot of stuff that needs to be answered. Now, I don't know if there is truly corruption around the fire in Flora, but I'm here to tell you when you have a fire chief whose dad is the fire inspector, they both resign under extremely questionable circumstances. The mother is arrested for embezzlement from the county she's working with. I'm just saying, I mean, that is just a lot. And somebody I think said something in the chat earlier. I was trying to keep track of it, but I did see it where they talk about um where there's smoke, there's fire. Um, there's a lot of families around this area that have a lot of money who have lived in this area for generations. Generations. And being a person who comes from a family farmer background, land, ladies and gentlemen, is extremely expensive. Um, it stays in families for generations. People don't like to give up their land, because it's such a huge investment. One of my Reddit friends said to me, this morning, "Wouldn't it be interesting to know who sold the land and who owned it, obviously, for the Hoosier Heartland project?" And can you imagine how much money went into that project in that area? There is a lot of money being made. There is whenever you have that going on and you have all of this, um, these families with this generational wealth and family farms, whatever, there's a lot of reasons why people don't want to let go of their land. We all know that Ron Logan was approached numerous times by the McCains. They wanted him to sell. They wanted his land so they could extend the trail. Um, you've got these huge homes all around the trail. Um, I haven't looked into the pricing of those, but I will because it's really interesting to me, all those homes around the private drive and how much they cost, because that will increase the tax bill for those that live there, such as Ron Logan, whose house is more on the meager side compared to those houses. And he would have been paying a higher tax bill because of it. All of those things play into um, money grabs, and whether or not any of that has anything to do with any of these cases, that's not what I'm here to say. What I'm here to say is there's a lot of things that just don't smell right around the case. And I know it's hard for us to think about that because most of us don't want to believe that those kinds of things would go on. But believe me, there's been a lot of things around land grabs. There's been murder. There's been, um, I mean, it's not something that's unusual. So I just think it's very interesting, like I said, that they still haven't done any repairs to that bridge. And $180,000 was given to them to do that. And I don't know that they've ever been asked for an accounting of it. Um, we should be able to try to get that from them by doing a FOIA or some sort of public record request, I would think. But it's just kind of crazy. And those are just some thoughts that I had. I know one of the things I wanted to bring up because it was emailed to me today. I don't know if anybody saw it, but there was a YouTube video that was put out. I think it went out yesterday, where they're talking about um, uh, the upcoming sheriff election and the Hatch Act, and how the Hatch Law Act has been violated. So this is just another thing to add up. If you remember when we were talking about Kagan Klein and the investigators were interviewing him, and they told Kagan one thing is one thing, but when you start stacking this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing, and the stack just keeps getting higher and higher, you have to finally say, wait a minute, there's something here. I think it's troubling information to think that there is stuff going on with the election that shouldn't be, pushing to get a certain person elected. You can't take out, if you are a county employee or a county agency, you cannot take out ads for someone running for sheriff that works for you. And they did. They put an ad in the Carroll County Comet. There is an ad, the same ad, hanging up in the sheriff's office on a public bulletin board. Those are just things that, it might seem trivial to some, but it's not. Those are laws that are put into place to protect, and they need to be followed and they need to be enforced. So, those are, again, just another thing. I'm really, really glad that Joanne emailed me to tell me about it, because I had not heard of it. So I was able to go out and look at it today. But those are all just things that we need to be questioning in my mind. And I'm not one to jump on the bandwagon of conspiracy theories. I'm not. I hate them usually because it's just ridiculous most of the time. They're so out there. But I just think it's interesting that all the players in Flora and in Delphi are the same. And I hope, beyond hope, that we can keep talking about Flora and about the girls and demand that something happen. When you have a measly $5,000 reward in one case where 4 children lost their lives, and you have another case where 2 girls are brutally murdered, and they have $325,000 as their reward, there is something seriously wrong. And I was thinking about it today. I may even email the owner of the Indianapolis Colts and ask him why. He gave all that money to Delphi and not a dime to Flora. What's the difference? I mean, it's just things like that. And I know that nobody wants to talk about it, and nobody wants to talk about race and the fact that the 4 little girls in Flora were Black and probably on the lower income spectrum. But you know what? That shouldn't matter. None of that should matter. But they're not being talked about. They're not being talked about in the press. They're not being talked about on social media. And we have to find out why. And we have to change it, in my opinion. And that's one of the things that we're able to do here. We can use our platforms for good and try to get this out. And, you can pressure your local authorities. You can contact your city council members and demand answers. These people think that they're above the law. They think that they can do whatever the heck they want, I think. And it's just like, we have to let them know or rein them in that we're not going to stand for it anymore. There are 6 beautiful souls that left this earth way before they were supposed to, and somebody needs to pay for it. And I just hope that that time is sooner than later. And I'm so glad that you guys all stuck with me tonight, because I'm not going to stop talking about Flora. It's going to be a topic for me now. I want everybody to know that. And I just hope, I'm serious when I say, please learn their names. Look at them. Learn to know. Hold on a second. I'm going to share my screen with you. Just give me a moment. I just want to pull this up for a second. So give me a minute here while I do it. Because they were such beautiful little girls that just did not deserve anything that happened to them. I don't care who was responsible for it. They didn't deserve what happened to them. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get there. There we go. So there's their beautiful faces. Such happy little girls. They just look so happy and so full of life. Oh, Northern Light, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you did. He's usually really nice. Oh, digital. The president of the was it the town commission? Hold on a second. I know who it is. I just got to find it in my notes that I have. Just give me a minute here. He was I think it's the president of the city council or the president of the township. He's a big wig in Flora. I know that. That's who owned the house. Which Paul are you talking about, Lynn? Aren't they beautiful though? And so happy. I was able to find some really cute pictures of them playing outside and just enjoying their lives. Sorry guys, I had to let my cat in my office. He was not happy that he could not get in here. So I had to let him out. Yeah, Northern Lights. YouTube doesn't like all caps. They consider it yelling. So that's why Nightbot doesn't. Oh, thanks, Lynn. Thank you. Yeah, Pat. Yeah, for the Colts. Yeah, I will find it. That most definitely I'm going to be emailing him about it. Most definitely. They are God's children, and they didn't deserve what happened to them. One of the most horrific ways to pass or to perish is in a fire. I can't even imagine what those poor little girls went through that night. And there's just so many different possibilities. Hey Grizz, how are you? I didn't see you in here. Thank you so much for coming. And you're very, very welcome. I feel bad um, because Galen deserves people talking about her girls. And she gets so much flack. Everybody wants to throw her under the bus. And that upsets me as well. Um, so yeah, he probably will say that he's never heard of the Flora Fire. Um, but I'm definitely gonna email him. And whether or not it gets to him or not, I'm not gonna let up because it's just things like that that really upset me. And I think I'm gonna email a couple of the investigative reporters as well that have been covering the case and talk to them about why it's not being talked about more in the news. Because it's something that needs to be talked about and kept out there that this has not been solved yet. So, yeah, Anna, I'm not at all trying to say that these two crimes were committed by the same person in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is that the people that are heading up the investigations into these crimes, there's some issues. That's what I'm saying. So, and questionable, we need to be questioning these things. You have to hold investigators' feet to the fire sometimes, um, because, they think that they don't have to tell the public what's going on, and yeah, I don't really wanna know the ins and outs of their investigation. I wanna know that they're still working the case. I wanna know that it's not just been put on some shelf somewhere and nobody's looking at it. We can be told over and over again that they are, but when we're coming upon 6 years for these little girls, and like I said, it doesn't seem like much of anything is going anywhere with the case. So and that's all. I just want more talk about it and for us to focus on it more. Um, I love that you guys all joined in with me tonight and we're here to discuss this because it doesn't do me any good to sit here and talk about it if you're not gonna be here for it. You know what I mean? Um, I thought about just doing a regular video on it, which I still may do, but I really thought it would be better to have it as a live because I love the comments that come in that people can see that are happening as we discuss it. And, you know, Anna, you're right. She says across several counties in the area, there's some pretty bad criminals seem to have gotten off very easy. Questionable judicial system. It's very true. I mean, when you stop and think about the bad criminals basically not getting any kind of um, punishment, just slaps on the wrist, even Tony Klein comes to mind. But then you have Ron Logan, who ended up spending 4 years in jail. It's just crazy to me, and we just have to question those things. There's nothing wrong with questioning and asking to have more information or explanations. So we will continue to do so, at least here and behind the crime door. We will definitely continue to do that because that's what's important to me. Um, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end because I think Graz is going live here soon, if he hasn't already. And I don't want to. I need to go in there and help moderate his channel as well. But you guys, thank you so much for coming, and I will talk to you all really, really soon. I have not heard any updates on the little boy in the suitcase. And again, that is also another case that's not getting enough media attention, Rosewood. I agree with you. And we need to talk about him as well. So there's just so many out there that need to be talked about. It's so true. Thank you, John, so much. Thank you all for helping me get to 1,000 subscribers. I couldn't have done it without all of you. You guys are amazing, and I certainly appreciate it. It makes me feel really, really good. And we will have a party. AJ wants to have a party. So we will have 1,000 subscriber party. And I'll figure out what we'll do for that. You guys can come. Maybe we can play a game or have some sort of trivia, or we'll do something to just have a fun night away from all the sadness. So I'll see you guys all over at Graz's if you go. And thank you so much again for stopping in tonight. I certainly appreciate all of you. Have a good night, and everyone, please be safe.
Thank you.